Hey, LCC family. Tim and Lauren here. We're back.
Hey, y'all. We've missed you guys. We've missed doing this.
Yeah, we've had a really busy summer,
Yes.
and we got the privilege of bringing our kids to work all summer. So,
Yes, we did.
kind of made it not conducive to doing a podcast.
Because there was a scooter crew here.
Yeah.
We had a small miniature bike gang.
Yeah, we did.
Aggressive, and so it was scary at times.
We had to call the cops a couple times.
Yeah.
But,
Break up some fights.
yeah, they were really good at conflict resolution. So we survived it, and so
Edna started school on Monday, so she's back. Started second grade, and so yeah,
crazy.
so we're back in the swing of things, and we're tired already.
Yeah, I am. I'm worn out from this routine of getting up early and getting her up early. So, I was thinking like, hey, while we're getting back in the routine of things, let's get back on the More Than Sunday
Yes,
podcast.
yes.
So we've missed you, and we're excited about this next fall season.
Yeah,
I mean, I know you're excited about fall.
yeah, it's my favorite.
Can we call it fall right now?
Well, I'm there mindset wise.
Yeah.
I've already started burning pumpkin candles, drinking pumpkin things. So
You started last month.
I did.
You did.
I pull out
We
the
hit our
basic.
first 95-degree day, and you're like, I'm done. No more.
Yeah, I know, but then
Summer's
now
over.
August is hotter, which is torture. But
Ooh, yeah. And then September's really hot too. So.
yeah, I know. So yeah, we're going into my favorite season, which is always exciting because I hate school and I hate the start of school, but I do love fall.
Yeah.
And all things fall, and so it's fine. I'm basic and I'm okay with that. So,
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah.
So pull out your scarves,
I'm gonna pull out my plaids.
pull out your plaids, your
Yeah.
scarves, and the
Yeah.
hat, the felt hats.
Ew, no.
The big
I'm
felt
kidding.
hats. No. So yeah, so More Than Sunday, we're back. So we're right now in the middle of a series called Jesus Said, and we're looking at the words of Jesus, what he meant, because the words of Jesus, he spoke in parables a lot.
Yeah.
He said some stuff that made people go, what? And honestly, even to this day, as we study,
True.
sometimes we're like, whoa,
What do you mean?
what do you mean? And that's the thing about our God, is that he kind of he doesn't give us all of it at once. And
Yeah.
He kind of has designed even his word to get us to ask questions. And I think that we are used to, in our culture, just getting the answer immediately. So
Yeah, Google culture.
yeah. So it causes us to press in and to seek. But our best friend Joe spoke this Sunday. He did a great job.
Yeah.
And so he spoke on the words of Jesus. Why did you doubt, you of little faith? And that was out of Matthew 14, verse 22 through 33. And so that's the story of Jesus walking on the water,
Yeah.
and then calling Peter out to walk with him.
Yeah.
And which is a really cool story.
Yeah. And it was the perfect story for Joe.
Yeah.
Did you think about that before when you told him to do that?
Yes, I
He's going to listen
I'm
to
a
this.
little devious and strategic in a lot of the things that I do.
Strategy. Yes. Yeah, so
Some people are figuring it out.
well, because Stephanie was sitting behind me, and as Joe started to talk about his story about Colorado, and if you haven't heard the message, you'll have to go back and listen. And so he kind of talks about how the Lord called him to Colorado many years ago, like 15 or 16 years ago, and he felt like the Lord gave him a place and the name, and then he didn't go. And so for many years, as we've been close to Joe and Stephanie for many, many years,
Yeah.
he always brings up that. And so for many years, we have
Yeah.
given Joe a very hard time about this.
Yeah.
And so I guess it was about a year or two ago, we were like, Joe, we love you. I mean, because we do. We love him to death.
Yeah.
We were like, you got to stop.
Yeah.
Like, you have to let God heal that area of your life. Of he would always bring up I know I disappointed the Lord. I know I was supposed to do that and I didn't, and I've missed my calling.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we would talk about things. And, Joe has faithfully served, both
Yeah.
Joe and Stephanie have faithfully served our youth group, and they are passionate about young people, and they have blessed our young people, blessed us so much. And, it's funny, like we could sit there and we could just be like, oh, thank you guys so much. And then he'd be like, yeah, but I missed it.
Yeah.
And
so one day when we were talking and we were up late one night, we were just saying, I just told Joe, said, the Lord knew you weren't going to go.
Yeah.
And like there was maybe the whole purpose in doing all of that was knowing you were going to say no. And that there's going to be a time where the Lord's going to ask you to do something else. And maybe this time you'll say yes because you know how you felt for 15 years because you said no the first time.
Yeah.
Or you said yes and you didn't do it. And so it's like, I've always said there's like this thing where it's like, where it's like the death of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's lived with that grieving of what he thought, like, because he always is almost like, what is that when you like you make it look, when you look back, it's greater than maybe you think.
Yeah, you fantasize what could have been.
Fantasize what could have been,
Yeah.
And it's like, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
And so, I just think sometimes like the Lord knew you were going to say yes and then not do it.
Yeah.
He knew that the whole time. He's not disappointed because he actually already knew that was the outcome and there was purpose in that. And sometimes it's hard because when people say there's purpose in everything, and it's like when you're the one going through the really deep, dark thing, you're like shut up.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, that's what everyone says. Right.
And you're like, I'm going to punch you in the face. But it's so true because it's like the Lord has used that.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe has been incredibly faithful all of these years.
Yeah, he has.
And that's of high value to him,
Yeah.
is to be that person because of what he walks through.
Yeah.
So.
And they're awesome people. We love them
Yeah.
so much. I think, I see myself in that, like we're not just going to harp on Joe, but I think a lot of times we do that a lot. We look back and think like, I should have done that. We spend a lot of time looking back and going, man, if I had only, and then we miss sometimes what God, because Satan wants to hamstring us with that.
Oh, yeah.
So like the same thing that God wants to use to build us up,
Yeah.
even though it's not pretty.
Oh, yeah.
The enemy wants to come in and try to color it a certain way or change the narrative and make you feel hopeless. And sometimes you miss, what God's doing right now because of that, or you can miss the joy of doing what you're doing now, and seeing it as valuable and important. Because you're fantasizing about it could have just done so much more, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about us for, Tim and I moved to California now about 10 years ago. Yeah.
We're
Maybe
old.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. What'd you say?
Said we're old.
Yeah. It was last week.
Yeah.
And
That's what it seems
so,
like.
yeah. And that was such a difficult season for us. We learned a lot. And so sometimes I think when you step out of the boat, which we felt like we stepped out of the boat,
Yeah.
and then you feel like things are going to be easy because you were listening to the Lord.
Yeah.
And we were listening to the Lord, and we stepped out of the boat, and we sunk.
Yeah.
We
definitely sunk.
And I remember us thinking, I hear this all the time, is like if the Lord's in it, then it's like it's going to work out.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah.
We kind of don't see that sometimes in the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so if God's in it, it's good. It's kind of
it's
that's
good.
it's good, but
Yeah.
that's true. But our definitions of good can be off.
Our good and God's good.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily going to feel good. It's going to be for our good.
Yeah.
And those are two different things.
Yeah.
And so we see that in our own kids.
Yeah.
What feels good to Etta and what is good for Etta are totally two different things.
Yeah.
She wants to Netflix and chill
All day
long.
in the dark.
Girl loves to relax.
Yeah.
Same. She wants to be in her beanbag, comfy, watching shows.
Yeah.
What she needs to be doing is maybe a little schoolwork and some scootering.
Yeah, get some outside, some sunlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some vitamin D. But so it's like but we don't view it that way. And I hear people say that kind of stuff all the time, where it's like, it's going to work out because God's got you. And from our perspective, yes, it is going to work out in the Lord's bigger picture, but for us personally, it's not going to maybe look the way we thought,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, so we went to California to help a church plant, be a part of something that we felt like, I mean, we knew, and God set it up. He opened doors for us.
Sold
we
our house.
we could not have gotten there without Him.
Yeah.
So we went knowing, and then that lasted about a year, and it was full of a lot of disappointment and hardship. We basically ran out of money, and we're running out of things to sell.
Car.
So we sold a car to pay bills, and we're like, okay,
We closed a 401k.
close a 401k.
Yep.
And it was like, well, we're going to run out of things, and then we're going to be stuck here.
Yeah.
So, I can't say that we did this we prayed, but I was just like, we've got to go back to Texas.
Yeah.
And
We did pray about it a lot.
did.
But
Yeah,
we
but
also cried about it a lot.
cried about it a lot. I look back at that sometimes, and I think, I wish that I had handled that more spiritually,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I looked back at it a lot. It's like, what did we do wrong? How come it didn't work out?
Right.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and kind of just feeling defeated, because what we did when we came home is I just went back to work as a lineman. I'd left that and thought hey, this is a new thing. I'm going to be doing something new with my life.
And you were excited. You felt like you were walking away from line work and that you were never going to have to do it again.
Yeah. I
And
just
then you
thought,
came back and did it 10 more years.
Yeah.
So.
And so, that's what I came back to do, and I was just like, well, I guess it's just good enough to be in a relationship with the Lord and do what I can to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of just what I accepted. I was like, I guess just ministry isn't for me. Mm-hmm. And, somehow I missed that, or, so I think where I got focused on the waves, I got focused on the difficulty of it all. And just was like, oh, man.
We kind of took our eyes off Jesus.
Yeah, because then I started to think, maybe that wasn't God at all.
Yeah, but we knew it was.
But when you're in the midst of it, and nothing is making sense, I definitely was like, golly, I don't even know if I can hear the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing good just to be saved.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a period of my life where that's just it was what it is. I'm just doing good to be saved, and I don't know if I'm really have a gift to hear from the Lord.
Yeah.
Not
me. I never thought that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah,
I think what you were saying this morning about how did Peter get back in the boat?
Yeah. So, Joe did a really awesome thing, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. He said, I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to read this verse. And it's Matthew 14:31, where, Peter is walking, and then he starts looking at the waves, and he starts to sink, and he cries out, Lord, save me. And Jesus reaches out and grabs him and says, why did you doubt, O you of little faith? Mm-hmm. And he had us close our eyes and just asked us, what do you hear? What do you hear? How do you hear Jesus? How does his tone sound to you? Does he sound disappointed, mad, annoyed? Or does he sound passionate, loving, believing? Mm-hmm. And, that was like, oh man, when I hear that, when I've read that so many times, I definitely thought it was like a disappointment of come on, and I just was like, man, I'm really guilty of walking around with that. And if you really look at it, he was saying that it was just a passionate, it was a rebuke, but it was a passionate of hey,
But I think about...
what? Yeah. Why did you doubt? I'm right here. I have you. I've got you.
I mean, just think about the other day when Etta, we talk about, it was a brave weekend for Etta.
Yeah.
And so our daughter has sensory processing disorder. So there was a season where just even slightly doing anything off balance or 1 foot or jumping, just not even a possibility. She's done tons of therapy to get to where she's at. And so she said one morning, I'm going to jump off the top of the dock, which is about like
15,
15 feet off the water.
15 feet, maybe.
I don't enjoy it, and I'm
Yeah.
an adult, so I've never told that to her because, I think I'm like, she wanted to do it but was too scared, and so she woke up one day and she did it. And when she did it, I know we talked to her just that same way. I told you could do it. Why
Yeah.
did you doubt?
Yeah.
And it was a bit of like, remember, like, you were so scared and you did it.
Yeah.
But like, that's how, when I read that now with that perspective, I think
Yeah.
he was probably like, Etta, I knew you could do it.
Yeah.
I knew it. Why did you doubt that you couldn't do that? You're so brave.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the rebuke
Yeah.
in my head now.
And so, like, the way that I am used to internalizing it is just like, it's like he's given up on me.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm benching you, Tim.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt coming back from California. I felt benched. And I think, like, man, if I had just had some more faith,
Yeah.
And I think I'm telling that story because I know that's the way a lot of us feel. I know I'm not alone in that. And, God's really had to work on me and in my heart, and he's still working on me because I've got days where I feel like that's what I walk around with. And then there's days where I'm not struggling with it so much.
Yeah. So often we view it as if I'd had more faith, this whole situation would have turned out differently. But God knew that that was the amount of faith you were going to have in that moment.
Yeah.
And it put you on the path we're on now. And now we see so much purpose in that season now.
Yeah.
Now, because leaving then, we never thought we'd be back working at LCC.
No.
That was just never on our radar. We moved to Austin.
I didn't think I was going to be back in Texas.
True. True.
Yeah.
So it's just, but now we just realized that was part of putting us on this path.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what it taught me is that, like, you can follow God. There's still no guarantees.
No.
And so, like, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
And, this time I was kind of like, well, we left it all before, and God took care of us.
Yeah.
So he can do it again.
Yeah. And he has.
So one of the things I was thinking about is, like, so I've always viewed it as, like, I'm benching you, Peter.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, like, well, how did they get back to the boat? And Jesus didn't carry him on his shoulder. They actually both walked on the water back to the boat. And so I was just kind of this morning thinking about it. I was like, man, I've read, my own self-criticism, sometimes my own self-hate into this. And Jesus was like, why'd you doubt? And then he picked him up, and then they both walked on water back to the boat and got into the boat. So it was like, it wasn't like you're done. It's like, no, come on, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And anyways, I was just really encouraged by that. And
Yeah.
I think, sometimes our faith, we're like, oh, if I had just had enough faith to do this task, then this could have happened. But I think that that is like taking our eyes off of Jesus. And really the faith that we need to have is just believing that. So this verse came to mind, Philippians 1:6, he who began a good work in me will complete it until the day of Jesus. And it's like he's going to complete it. Even when we fall short, God's not giving up on us. And we don't have to give up on ourselves either. And we've got to trust him that, like, you know what, my faith was really little there. But God's not done with me.
Right.
And he's going to make my faith bigger.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of that was my takeaway.
Yeah.
And, and so the reason we do the whole More Than Sunday podcast is that we don't want to just listen to sermons, but we want to help everyone in our church take a sermon and, like, how is that speaking to you in your life?
Yeah.
And just by being open in our life and, like, hey, how am I going to take God's word for us this week? And, like, where have I seen that in my life? And how can I apply that? And where is that in the story of my life?
Yeah. Well, because I think it's important, because, like, you could continue to read that line of why did you doubt?
Yeah.
With
come on, you idiot.
With that undertone.
Yeah.
Come on, you idiot. And so often I hear on social media and on TikTok the deconstruction movement and how that is how they view the Bible. And then they go out and then they read that online and they're like, see, he's unkind.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Ugh, Jesus. You know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important to be like, hey, this is an area I was reading this wrong. And now I realize, like, Jesus is talking to me, Jesus is talking to Peter the same way I would talk to Etta.
Yeah.
I knew you could do it. Why did you doubt? You're so brave.
Yeah.
I knew you could do it. You know?
Yeah.
It's totally,
It's good.
totally different perspective.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, thank you, Joe. You did
Yes.
great. You really blessed us. And thank you guys for tuning in. And we're looking forward to this season of more episodes of More Than Sunday.
is this season 2? This is our
Yeah,
first.
this is season
yes,
2.
season
This is our
2.
first season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. We'll make that one season 1.
Yeah.
Took a break and now we're back for season 2.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, we love you guys. We hope to see you Sunday. And just, think about those words. What are you carrying? The Lord's pleased with
Yeah.
you. He loves you. He believes in you more
Amen.
than you believe in yourself. And just be encouraged. You of little faith. We're all growing, and we're going to have big faith.
Yeah. Amen.
See you later.